Hello and welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people who make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview local business people, community leaders, artists, entertainers, and we will learn all about their strengths, their weaknesses, and their connection to Billings. I'm your host, Nancy Brook, broker and owner at Billings Best Real Estate. And today it is my pleasure to have as my guest Robin Morgan from Robin's Nest Studio.
Thanks, Nancy.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, I am so excited to learn all about, first of all, your photography business, and there's so much more to you, so I can't wait till we dive in. So tell us a little bit about how did you get involved in photography?
I have been taking pictures since I was a little kid. I have pictures actually of my kindergarten and first grade friends. I used to take my dad's camera, and my grandparents had a little grocery store in our town, and they would give me disposable cameras. And so I'd take them to school and just take pictures of my friends. And so I've always loved doing photography. And my mom had one of those VHS cameras that, you know, you put the carry on your shoulder, and
sure,
a great
sure.
big. And so I would go around our town and kind of interview people in town. And I thought for a while I wanted to be a journalist, and so I've always loved photography. And it got pushed into a business when I wanted to take a trip and travel outside the country, and I needed to raise my own money. And I thought, well, I'll just do some children's photography and see what happens. And it ended up being an avenue to have a career.
Wow. Well, so you just had a knack for it, and then you decided, hey, I need some money for a trip. Did you raise some money for the trip?
Yeah, I did.
Where did you go?
So I wanted to go on a mission trip to Africa.
Okay.
And we had to raise, I wanted to take my daughter, who was 15 at the time, and so we had to raise $7,000. And I thought, oh, there's no way that I'm going to be able to raise that much money in, 4 months or whatever it was. And so I set up little photo booths. I'd gotten a Nikon D3300 for Christmas one year, and so I set up a little photo booth at the Metra for holiday time, and for $10 people could get a picture with their, a picture of their little kiddo, and people were asking me if I had a business card, and I was like, I'll have to get some of those, and then it really just took off. And we raised $7,000 in just over 2 months, and we got to take the trip. And I actually went back the next year because I just fell in love with Africa. So.
Oh, you went back to Africa. Did you go back to the photo booth too, or had you started your business by then?
I did the photo booth again and raised the money again. By then, I had actually picked up some clients and I just stayed busy with it.
So what kind of photography do you specialize in?
Right now, I would say the main thing that I do is business headshots.
Okay.
So I have quite a few law firms and doctor offices that I do all of their incoming providers and new attorneys for their websites. And that's kind of the main area of business that I'm in now, but I still love the children's photography, and I've picked up a couple of schools and sports. I'm going to do the Central High football, soccer, and golf this year, and then also the Homeschool Sports League.
Wow. Well, that's not easy. Way back when, people don't know this about me, but I used to be a photographer for high school annual.
Oh, nice.
And so we try to do shots, at football games, basketball games. It's hard to catch that great shot in the middle of the action. So kudos to you.
Well, I'm not in the action per se. I'm more like ordering their packages for their fall sports.
Their team.
Their team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're giving me hyperventilation remembering how hard that was.
Right. That would be tough.
So you are working with portraits, and you did an internship from what you told me before.
Yeah, basically, so when I got divorced 7 years ago, I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to run my own business, and I just wanted to be responsible for myself, and I knew I was going to have to work. And so I went over to Tony Smith Photography. It was right across the street from where I was staying. And I applied for a job, and they said, well, we're not hiring. It's just Tony and his wife. and we don't really need another photographer. And at the time, I just was so desperate to be near photography. I said, I'll answer the phone, I'll clean the bathroom, I'll do whatever it takes just to be, to learn and to grow and to earn some money. And so a couple of weeks went by, and Donna called me back, and she said, I've been thinking about this, and would you ever be able to buy the business, because we do want to retire. And I didn't have any money. I left my house really with not much of anything. So I said, I wish I could, but I can't. And another friend of mine, her husband runs a business group, and they had a grant, like a Women in Business or New Business grant. So I wrote a bio, applied for this grant, and I actually won, and I got this grant, and it was for almost the exact amount of the down payment that Tony and Donna were asking for the business, and they agreed to do a contract for deed. They trusted me and kind of went all in with me. Tony stayed with me for 3 months and taught me how to use the studio lights and this big expensive camera, I still had my little crappy old Nikon, so I was just really blown away. And Donna taught me how to do the books, and they introduced me to St. Vincent's, they introduced me to Molten Bellingham. They just really held my hand kind of through the whole process, and without them, I don't know where I'd be. So,
well, what a neat opportunity, though, to walk into a business that was already established and already had clientele. That's
and
such
Tony's,
a blessing.
a master, the multi-award winning master photographer, so I feel very fortunate and blessed to have been able to work with him.
So how many years has it been since you've had
7
the business?
years.
Oh,
I started
so 7 years.
April 2018. Everything actually happened really fast. I moved out in December. I went over there in January. We went into talks in February. I signed in March. I moved in April 1st, which was Easter that year. So it was kind of like new beginning, new chapter, and it just happened really, really fast.
Right. So what's been the most challenging part about having a business?
Probably the bookkeeping. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'd much rather be outside or, taking pictures or being creative. And so to sit at the computer and do any sort of book work is a nightmare for me. So QuickBooks has made me cry several times, but yeah, that's being organized. That's probably that's probably the most challenging thing.
Right, getting the billing out so you get paid, obviously.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. For a while there, for the first couple of years, I would send people their picture, and then they would say, "Can I pay you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you probably should. That's a good idea." So.
And what has been the biggest surprise about having your own business? Aside from the paperwork and bookkeeping and all that.
A good surprise, I guess, realizing that I could do it. Because I think as a business owner, you go through a lot of, I can't do it, I'm a failure, or this is never going to work, or, self-sabotage and imposter syndrome. You kind of walk through a lot of that as a business owner. And so to realize that I can do it, and I can be successful, and I can create these really beautiful images for people has just been awesome. And then the places I've gotten to go. I got to go to France and spend 2 weeks. I did a amazing school in Paris where we shot these models, and we had hair and makeup artists, and I stayed in a castle. I've been to conferences in Las Vegas and met some of my, photography idols. And so just the people I've gotten to meet and the places I've gotten to go has just been phenomenal.
How did the France gig come about?
Just some people, a gentleman in Texas who runs a school, and just wanted to go. You? Yeah, I just wanted to go and do the school and learn more and and travel.
Yeah, well, that's fabulous. And staying in a castle.
Yeah. There was actually a cannonball hole in the castle from. I think they had said it was the Vikings, but yeah, cool. I've gotten to go some really cool spots.
That's really fun. I bet when you started it, you didn't think, hey, I'm going to be able to go to a castle in France.
Honestly, no. When I started, I really it was almost just out of self-preservation. I just needed to earn $100, needed to earn a couple $100. I had no expectations really. It was just survival.
Yeah.
And the first couple of years it felt like that.
Sure.
It just felt like survival. And how am I going to get through this next day or week or month? And I think it takes a while before you kind of start to go, okay, everything's going to be okay. And I've got this, and it's going to work out.
Well, I think that's the thing that people don't realize, that it takes a little bit sometimes to get some momentum going in business. And a lot of times people give up before that momentum really starts making it easier.
So true. So true. Every year has gotten better and better. I just finished my taxes, and I looked at the reports from all the last years, and every year there's just a little bit of an increase, and that's exactly how it goes.
Yeah.
And you just hang in there.
And you mentioned that you felt like an imposter for a while. I think a lot of people, whether they're business owners or not, can resonate with that. Like that feeling like maybe you don't deserve it, you're not good enough, who am I to do this? How did you start transitioning away from those negative thoughts?
The classes that I've taken have really helped me. The functions I've gone to, and the advice from other photographers, these conventions has helped me a lot, because especially in photography where it's an art form, it's an art, not everybody's going to love your art. And so to realize that that's okay if people don't love your art, if not everybody just loves what you're doing, that's okay. And so I had to kind of come to terms with that and say that not everybody's going to be your biggest fan. And I think that's true in pretty much every area of life. But just realizing that my vision is my own, and being grateful for the people who do appreciate that. And so, but it's easy to look at other photographers and say, oh, I'll never be that good, or oh, I wish I knew how to do that, or it's easy to get down on yourself, I think, when you're in an art industry like that.
So it would seem to me that photography is pretty competitive. I mean, although everybody has their own sort of specialty.
Right. We have 1,200 photographers in Billings.
Almost as many real estate agents, right?
That's one for just about every 100 people.
Right.
So it is a very competitive, and I do get tired. Sometimes I get tired of competing, and I say, oh, I just wish this was easy. So yeah, it's a very competitive market.
So in the photography industry, like you're doing a lot of portrait work, it sounds like. Are there like so many people do portraits, so many people do weddings? I mean, is it kind of specialized like that?
Yeah.
Or do some people do
I think
everything?
People do specialize and find their way. Like some people really love the outdoor, or nature, or natural light, or some people love weddings. I don't really care for weddings anymore. I've done about a dozen of those, and I'm good with that. I would much rather, I love the preschools. I love the little kids. I love the elementary schools and the sport and seniors, because they're so excited for the next adventure, and they get creative about their shoot. And so I love that. So yeah, I think everybody has their thing that they enjoy.
So, and I don't know how it works with photography, but I know like with art, when you're seeing something, like even a still life, you kind of capture something that interests you, and you start your piece of art from that. How does it work when you're doing a portrait? Do you find something that you go, oh, I really like this, or I want to catch this? How do you look at somebody and decide the angles, the lighting, what color they should wear?
Right. I've even approached people that I thought were interesting looking and asked if I could take their portrait, because I find beauty. I don't think there's ugly people. Like, I really can find something beautiful in every person, and the more unique they are, in my eyes, the more beautiful they are. And so it helps to meet them a little bit and talk and think about, okay, what color are your eyes? A lot of times I'll ask people, what color are your eyes? Wear a complementary color to your eyes, because the way cameras are now, they're so smart, and they will take a palette of all the colors they see, and they'll kind of create that and blend that. So if you wear a green top and you have green eyes, and I can put a little something green behind you, we're going to have a really beautiful palette of greens. And so based on their eye color, hair color, like blondes are lucky, they can kind of wear just about anything. Light skin, you know, I tell people, like, don't wear bright yellow to your photo shoot. So it does make a difference, but.
Well, and I've heard like some people wear neutral colors, so then their face stands out more.
Yeah.
But then, like I've also heard, I was mentioning to you, like your color palette is unique to your skin color and your hair coloring,
right?
All of that. So how does that work? Does it depend on what the occasion is?
I have found like satin and leather photograph beautifully. When people wear like silk, it just photographs really beautiful. And I love the jewel tones, navy blue, emerald green, cranberry. Like, I just love the jewel tones. I think those photograph really nicely. But you can, like Erica Lipp, I love her work. She does really bright colors, and she's doing hot pink, and she's doing bright red, and they're very lit up and bright. And so her style is a more colorful, way, I think. And some people really like whites. They'll do a white sky. Everybody's wearing white. Everything's just really, the saturation is just really down.
Right.
So it just kind of depends on style.
And then their faces kind of show up more. So yeah. I've seen it both ways. So it has always interested me. Like,
I tend to shoot a little darker style at like a studio traditional. I've been called traditional, and I don't know if that's just because I learned from Tony, and he's very traditional.
Sure.
So I'm doing pinups. I love the retro vintage pinup, and I'm doing those in August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And I've got a 1939 cherry red pickup coming, and so then I'll do I have a hot pink backdrop and bright yellow. So I'll do a little more brighter colors for the pinups, and the girls do their makeup and the big hair. And
yeah, so almost, is that like 40s style? Is that
what
it is?
Yep, okay. 1940s, 1950s. This is my 6th year doing those, and I just love that style.
Well, it sounds like it's popular for the ladies too, right?
Yeah, I think it's a classy way to have your picture taken. So.
Well, and I don't want to neglect another important part of you. Obviously, the photography is your living and you're passionate about it, but you are also an author. So tell us about the book. And I do have a copy of the book, so I don't know if you can see it. It's called The Silver Charm: Surviving the Unthinkable, One Woman's Fight. So tell us about this.
Yeah, that was about 10 years in the making, trying to get that written and published and get the story out there. But that's kind of a passion project, I would say, for me. When I was 19, I was kidnapped and by somebody that I had dated, and he was much older than me, and I just didn't, as a young kid, I just didn't really understand.
Well, who would think,
life?
Who would think they're going to be kidnapped by somebody you're
Right.
dating? I mean, most people wouldn't expect that. So,
Right.
19 or 29.
Yeah. And so for a long time, I didn't tell anybody. I mean, years and years ago, I was basically agoraphobic. I did not have a credit card in my name. I did not have a vehicle in my name. I did not work. I had gotten married shortly after that happened, and the trial was horrible. It was just a nightmare of an experience, and so I kind of just retreated.
And so, of course, you had to testify.
I didn't tell anybody.
That must have been intimidating.
Very, very intimidating. It ended up being like a national trial because he was wanted for other things in other places. So became a federal
Wow.
Deal, and it was actually a week-long trial with several witnesses because he had done so many crimes that I didn't know about. So that's kind of my way of, I want to help other women to see their worth. And I think the photography and that has just really gone hand in hand. I just think it's so critical for women to see their value, see their worth, so that they don't allow that kind of harmful relationship into their life.
Yeah. Well, so the book was just published in 23, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about putting the book together. You said it took 10 years.
Yeah, I actually wrote the book in counseling, and I wrote it in the third person just because I'm creative that way. I've always loved to write. And I wrote it as a story because at the time when I was going through this cognitive therapy, it was the only way I could get it out of me. It was the only way that I could get it down on paper, was to write it in the third person. And that's kind of what cognitive therapy is. You're a little bit removed from the situation. You have your little self and your big self. And but so that's how I wrote the book. And then I just kept feeling this, like, I need to get it out there. I need to get out there. And I spoke at a women's retreat in Missoula, and I could not believe the response. This was before the book was published. The response of women who came up to me after I told my story and said, this happened to me, this happened to my daughter, this happened to my sister, my niece was killed by her husband. Like, people die from domestic violence. It is a very pronounced thing that we're not talking about. So I just really want to bring awareness to the issue, and this just felt like a good way to get started.
Well, it must be a bit overwhelming putting the story out there and then having people know everything about it. Was that a challenge for you? Because you seem to want to keep it a little private.
Yeah, I went through that time in my life where I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk about anything to anybody, and I was very private. And I think going through my divorce kind of opened me up that way to just say, I'm not going to live in fear anymore. I'm going to run my business. I'm easy to find now. You can Google me and probably come right straight to where I am. So it was a little nerve-wracking because I do worry about people from my past, possibly popping up. But I can't live in fear anymore. I feel like the story is too important. It needs to be told, no matter what the consequences are. I just feel like we need to be talking about this, and if I can be a voice for women who feel like they don't have a voice, then that's my mission.
So what have you done to get the word out about the book? So you got it published,
Yes.
which is a huge step in itself.
So I spoke at the McGuire Conference a couple years ago. I'm speaking in Toronto actually in November. I'm trying to get into a conference in Nashville in September. These are all like gender-based violence prevention conferences, and a lot of times for law enforcement or healthcare professionals, where I can just go and tell the story as a survivor.
Right.
So I don't like to say victim because I think that can put kind of a negative term on it, but yeah, just as a survivor to go and share my story, and if I can help in some way to build programs for women, that's my next focus.
So what do you think would help women not get into situations like you did? And obviously,
Right.
I mean, there are some people who are just good con men, probably women
Right.
too, but there are some people who are just good at
Yeah.
building your trust and
Yeah.
just taking advantage. So,
Right. Yeah,
maybe let you off the hook a little bit, because
Right.
it sounds like he had done this to a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, he was 30, and so, and I was 19, and I think learning red flags, the most assaulted age is actually 18 to 22, because you're right in that space where you're not really sure about life. Maybe you didn't have a good example growing up. Maybe you didn't have a mom or dad, or, you didn't have a good example to see. And that was my experience. My dad left when I was 6, and I just didn't have any example to follow, really, to know what is love. And that's kind of what the charm is all about, is it says love on the charm. And I was questioning, like, what is love? As he's hitting me in the face, I'm saying, this cannot be love. This can't be. And that is kind of the point of the book, is what is love. So educating girls on, red flags. There's all kinds of warning signs.
Give us a couple examples. What would be a warning sign? Like,
So,
somebody seems like super nice, and then,
Right.
Maybe your friend sees something and says something,
Yeah.
but you don't want to hear it. But they're seeing something, but maybe you're not.
Yeah. Pressing boundaries is a big one. If you say no and they push your boundary on any issue, that's a huge red flag. Hurting animals is a huge, I know that's gross, but it's a huge red flag. Being very controlling and possessive, that's how this guy was. And I thought it was love. You know, I was like, oh, he's so concerned about where I'm going and who I'm talking to. He's jealous. It's cute. You know, I thought it's not, it's control. Taking away your freedom, trying to remove you from friends or family, intentionally trying to keep you from your support system. That's a huge red flag. So, and they're little things, especially younger.
Well, and at the beginning, you probably, just like you said, well, that's kind of cute. He's concerned about me. But there comes a point where things escalate, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a bad sign, you know. So.
And so a lot of people aren't even aware that they're in danger.
Yes.
And then, you know, the other thing, let's be honest, when you're young, sometimes you make bad choices. Maybe you drink too much and you're out with a bunch of strangers. Maybe who knows? I mean, you're at somebody's house, you don't really know the person. You get a ride from somebody you don't really, I mean, there's lots of things that you do kind of naively when you're younger that maybe you don't do when you're 30 or 40 or 50.
Right.
So, hopefully not.
Right. With wisdom comes good choices, you would think. Although in these last couple of years, I've dated a couple of doozies, that's for sure. So, but yeah, that I think watching for those signs and trying to keep yourself out of bad situations. But a lot of times you don't know because I hate to use the term narcissist because I feel like it's a little overused, but it's, I mean, that is where that comes from.
Condition.
It's a thing.
Yes.
And so to understand what that looks like and how that abuse starts is the best thing to do. And you know, educating people on that. I learned all about what a narcissist is when I got divorced and have had these couple relationships, and education is key.
Right.
And you know, admitting the reality of it. I didn't want to admit that I had been in that situation or that I had been naive or had been gullible. It's, you know, you don't want to admit that.
You feel embarrassed or silly or,
Yeah. So, and not blame yourself. Just move forward and don't look back and don't blame yourself. You know, it's just let it go and keep moving forward. And learn from that.
So where do people find, let's start with this, where do people find your book, The Silver Charm?
So it is on Amazon and it is on Kindle. I'm working on the Audible thing, and there is some on eBay, so they're around. And I do have some at the studio. I have tried to keep some there too.
So if you want it immediately, come see you at the studio. And then how do people get in touch with you? It sounds like you are not only an author, you're a speaker, you're a photographer, you're a business owner, you're a world traveler. You're a very interesting person.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm always open if people want to talk and share their story. What's been interesting is a lot of women come to the studio, and that's why I keep books at the studio, because they're like starting a new job because of maybe a bad divorce, or they're looking for a portrait to have a fresh start in their life. I cannot tell you how many women I've met who've left really bad situations and have been very badly abused through my photography studio. And so for a long time I used to think like, God, why did you put me here, and what is this for, and am I really making a difference? And now I can see how the two are really going together. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have a website that people could find you at?
So the studio does have a website, and then the book does have a website too. It's thesilvercharm.com.
And then Robin's
Nest Photography Studio.com. It's a very long one.
Yeah, that's okay, but it's easy words. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Robin. It has been such a pleasure to meet you, and I just feel blessed to have had you as a guest.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. This has been really great. Thank you so much.
And everybody, we appreciate you joining us today, and we hope to see you next time on All About Billings.